Chapter 521 Slaying Two Holy Lords. Wang Dun, standing next to him, was even more direct. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of saliva, which landed in the void near him. Damn it, you've imprisoned me for over 10 years, you damned old beast. You are going to die today. Hehehe. Of course, if you know what's good for you, I can guarantee your soul will enter the cycle of reincarnation. If you don't, I can make sure your body is completely destroyed. Almost everyone around him was seething with hatred for him. Everyone knew that the ascension passage between heaven and earth was broken, but no one expected that it was these two brothers who broke it. To cut off my path is like killing my parents. Otherwise, I would have ascended to the spirit realm long ago. How could this grudge not be avenged? What do you expect my brother and I to do? He asked, glancing at the crowd. He Pingxing said, hand over the origins of time and space. Right now, killing him and questioning him isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is to repair the passage between heaven and earth. HMPH. He asked, don't even think about it. Hand over these two items, and how will my brother and I live? The origins of time and space have been swallowed up by these two for over 2,000 years. Now, it has become part of their Taoist practices. Handing over this thing is tantamount to taking out the two brothers' glass infants to be tormented and refined. What difference is there between that and death? Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. He laughed loudly. You know nothing about the power of space-time. Today, I'll show you. Boom. The next moment, an infinite power of law burst forth from his body. These are spatial rules. The white spatial power was almost visible to the N******, and in an instant, it enveloped all 50-odd nascent soul cultivators around it. Space is shaking. He asked with a loud shout. By harnessing the power of heaven and earth through spatial rules, this void seemed to be completely separated from the surrounding world. It kept shaking. Moreover, it wasn't just shaking. The entire space, like viscous water, drew everyone in, binding them to the rules of the space. In an instant, more than 50 people were disturbed by the space. Once space is disrupted, both attack and defense lose their predictability. Not good. Liang Zhenyu exclaimed, stop him quickly, otherwise we won't be able to use our spatial power and we won't be able to suppress the two of them. The reason he didn't run away at this moment was because he was interfered with by the spatial rules constructed by everyone, and he couldn't teleport. If the spatial laws of everyone were suppressed by these two brothers, the outcome would be predictable. Those two guys will definitely run away. For them, even if they can't win a fight, they can still run away. If they all turn around and seek revenge on everyone, who can withstand that? I'll do it. He Pingxing put away the southern Ming Fangqian halberd and instead took out a huge axe, saying, he asked, stop struggling. I'll break through your spatial barrier. Cut. Amidst the swaying, he Pingxing disregarded everything else, mixing the power of the 5 elements and the power of space within his body, and then circulating it with the power of the 5 elements in one, before aiming at him and slashing out with his axe. The axe flashed, its blade slicing through the void. In the void, the power of rules that he had constructed began to collapse little by little. Again. Boom boom boom. He Pingxing chopped more than a dozen times in a row. He asked, and finally the spatial power he unleashed could not withstand it, collapsing with a roar, and this void finally stopped shaking. Gentlemen, help me trap him, watch me slay the enemy. He Pingxing, wielding the wind and thunder mountain-slaying axe, leaped into the void once more, the giant axe descending from the sky. The giant axe transformed into a 300-foot-long object, crackling with lightning, its black electric light resembling a black dragon. This attack not only used a top-grade ancient treasure, but also enhanced the divine power, gathering thunder and sun, and was driven by the 3 transformations of the heavenly gang. This axe blow can be described as he Pingxing's strongest attack to date. Open. He was naturally unwilling to accept this and was still making a desperate struggle. He condensed layers of defensive light membranes. Infused with the power of time, these light films appear sturdy and thick. However, it didn't work. The defenses he had erected were completely shattered by he Pingxing's all-out attack. Then the great axe slammed down on his golden body again. With a bang, the golden statue he was asking had one of its arms cut off. But then, miraculously, the arm grew back in an instant. Heh! He Pingxing sneered, let's see how many times you can grow. Cut! Boom boom boom. He Pingxing's body contained the heavenly pine mysterious yellow dew, which continuously attacked, and it was only this one move, going back and forth inside and out. On the other side, Wang Dun also began to attack his ancestor, Xianxia. The remaining 50-odd nascent soul cultivators cooperated, only needing to use their divine sense and the power of rules to lock onto the two holy lords. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the power of the two holy lords gradually depleted, while He Pingxing and Wang Dun became increasingly ferocious. Damn it! Damn it! He asked in exasperation, how can someone at the nascent soul stage possess such profound magical power? He didn't see He Pingxing and Wang Dun use any supplements, but their magical power seemed inexhaustible. It was truly terrifying. Stop, 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 he demanded. Stop, and I'll reveal my true form, but I have one condition. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He Pingxing stopped and said, You speak. He asked, Actually, it's not really a condition, just a promise. You have to guarantee the safety of my brother and me, and you also have to swear an oath to heaven. Otherwise, even if I am no match for them today, I could still self-destruct. Heh! You won't get anything, and everyone will die with me. And, I want more. He looked at everyone and kept talking. He had only spoken halfway when he suddenly became alert, glaring at He Pingxing and roaring, Damn it, you actually poisoned me. Everyone looked down at his feet and saw that, without anyone noticing, countless green thorns had appeared out of thin air and wrapped around his body. On the other side, he read the same thing. You plotted against me. Death, die. Everyone, die. His face was filled with madness and ferocity. The Liang Kingdom's patriarch exclaimed, This is bad, this fellow is about to self-destruct. But the next moment, before he could even begin to self-destruct, he had already lost consciousness. The more frantic you become with the 5th grade poison, the faster the poison will spread. At this moment, he asked the two brothers, He Nyan and He, that they had lost consciousness but were not yet dead. Phut! Without further hesitation, He Pingxing used his axe to cut open Wen's body and grabbed his glass infant. Besides the glass baby, he also acquired several rings. On the other side, Wang Dun was not far behind, and with a swift stroke, he had already removed the glass infant he had been contemplating. The glass infant is crucial because a person's cultivation, accumulation, Taoist techniques, and comprehension are all contained within it. To obtain the origin of time and the origin of space, one must obtain the two people's glass infants. Phew! Seeing that the two had succeeded, the nascent soul cultivators around them all breathed a sigh of relief. He Pingxing looked around, then cupped his hands and said, Thank you all. Please make your way to the sacred mountain and see the evil deeds of these two beasts. Chapter 522 The New Holy Lord. Previously, He Pingxing and Wang Dun had discussed the matter repeatedly, but they still felt that their combined strength might not be enough to deal with the two holy rulers. We might be able to defeat them, but we definitely won't be able to catch them. After all, the two were incredibly powerful. If you can't grasp it, you can't extract the essence. Without retrieving the original source, repairing the ascension channel is out of the question. After discussing it, the two decided to join forces with some reliable nascent soul cultivators to deal with the Holy Mountain. He Pingxing only knew two people, the two ancestors of the Liang Kingdom. Wang Dun also invited 3 or 5 people. There weren't many people to begin with, but later, through these few nascent soul cultivators, they made contact with some old nascent soul immortals who had long been dissatisfied with the Holy Mountain. Even so, these people still dared not directly oppose the Holy Lord. So He Pingxing gave each of them an earthroot talisman and let them temporarily enter the Great Freedom Pearl. After He Pingxing and his conversation were transmitted into the Great Freedom Pearl, everyone suddenly realized, all the evil things in this world were done by these two brothers. Some people hate them for destroying their own path, others hate them for capturing their own relatives. Many of the royal ancestors also united in their hatred of the enemy. With the combined efforts of more than 50 people, they were able to subdue the two men. Rumble. On the sacred mountain, He Pingxing opened the grand formation of a certain underground palace. The crowd surged in and entered the underground palace. After circling around a few times, they finally arrived at the location of the stripping creation and gathering essence to transform longevity tree array. The whole area was packed with people. But these are all living dead who have lost their souls. This is Chu Yushuan, the unparalleled genius of my Chu kingdom. Damn it, Chu Yushuan is my own niece. Wah. So it really was here. Xianxia of my Tang dynasty. Isn't this Liang Qianjian, the genius of the Liang kingdom? Xiao Xian. This is Xiao Xian. The peerless void spirit root of Qi kingdom also died here. Everyone looked at this circle of hundreds of unparalleled geniuses from the past millennium, and they all gritted their teeth in envy. Someone cursed, "Those two old bastards truly deserve to die." Not only did they cut off the path to ascension for billions of cultivators in our cultivation world, but they also harmed so many peerless geniuses. They deserve to die. They deserve to die. They should never be reincarnated. Kill him. No, killing him would be too lenient. The crowd was filled with righteous indignation. He Pingxing took out the glass infant he had asked about. At this moment, he also woke up. He asked, "Look what you've done." On the other side, Wang Dun also took out the glass baby he had been reciting. Both of them closed their eyes, remaining silent and not looking. "All right then." He Pingxing looked at everyone and said, "I have a 10,000 souls banner here. Let's collect their souls into the 10,000 souls banner, so they can never be reincarnated. What do you all think?" As he spoke, He Pingxing took out the divine banner and unfolded it. Good. Good. Ha ha, this place is his final resting place. Very good. That's how it should be. Everyone cheered. He asked, but trembled with fear, "No, absolutely not. He Pingxing, you've released us into the cycle of reincarnation. The karmic debts on our bodies will be settled by the heavenly Tao. I don't want to enter this banner of 10,000 souls. Don't want. Please. Release me into the cycle of reincarnation. Entering the banner of 10,000 souls will render you neither human nor ghost. You will not only lose your freedom and dignity, but also suffer immense pain, becoming a slave to one master after another for the rest of your life. Even if the master changes 10,000 times, the servants within this soul banner will never disappear. Moreover, the process of refining the soul within the 10,000 soul banner is extremely painful. You are not worthy." He Pingxing rolled up the divine banner in his hand, and the two souls, accompanied by shrill cries of pain, were sucked into the ghost banner. The two glass infants had become completely lifeless objects devoid of any consciousness. After looking around, everyone returned to the main hall above and sat down. The Liang Kingdom's patriarch unfolded a list and said, "Everyone, we have just inventoried all the treasures on the holy mountain. Everyone can share their thoughts on how to allocate it." The group looked at each other, but no one said a word. Nawu said, "Wang Dun and He Pingxing deserve the most credit for defeating these two old beasts this time. Moreover, He Pingxing will need to go to the core area to repair the formation to restore the ascension passage between heaven and earth later. If you ask me, the right to allocate resources should be given to the two of them." "That's right," someone said. "Actually, it doesn't matter whether we separate or not. We old folks only have one thought, to ascend to the spirit realm as soon as possible. Things that are external to us are not worth worrying about. How about this? Fellow Daoist He and fellow Daoist Wang shall become the new holy lords of the holy mountain and dominate the world situation." "That's great," someone immediately stood up and echoed. "Then there's no need to allocate the resources on the holy mountain, they can just stay there." "I agree. I agree." Almost everyone agrees. The people here are all nascent soul cultivators. Their greatest wish in life is to leave the cultivation world, ascend to the spirit world, and seek a higher path to immortality. Now, He Pingxing is their only hope. Who dares to offend He Pingxing? I think it's a good idea. Wang Dun looked at He Pingxing with a smile. From now on, I will be the Holy Lord Wang Dun. He Pingxing frowned and said, then let's continue with the 9 Kingdoms tournament every 100 years as scheduled. Just follow the old rules. Furthermore, give me all the time and space essences here. I want to send them into the secret realm. Everyone agreed. No problem. Then, some people couldn't help but ask eagerly, Lord He, when do you plan to set off for the heavenly extreme land to repair the formation? Swish. Everyone looked at He Pingxing. Undoubtedly, everyone is very concerned about this issue. He Pingxing said, actually, I've thought about this question too. For example, I'm currently at the 10th level of the nascent soul stage. If we enter that formation and repair it, the vortex within the divine tree will completely disappear. Will I remain in that void forever, or will I enter the spirit world directly through that spatial passage, or will I be sent to our world? I know nothing about this. I'm afraid none of you will know the answer. Or perhaps, I will die. He Pingxing looked at everyone and said, since that's the case, I want to live a little longer, at least until I've arranged everything. After a moment of silence, He Pingxing continued, well then, all I can tell you is that within 10 years, I will enter the desolate land to repair the spatial passage. That's what they say, but in reality, He Pingxing wasn't worried about dying. After all, there's still the substitute death talisman we haven't used yet. Besides, if they really do seal me in that void, I can just take out my source again and get out, right? Of course, the reason He Pingxing wanted to delay for a while was because he was worried about the first scenario. What if it gets repaired and then sent directly to the spirit world? There are still many things to do. Therefore, some time should be set aside to arrange matters in the human realm. Chapter 5:23 Time Array Diagram. Yi Ku's deduction good. Then thank you very much, Holy Lord He. I will go back and make preparations, arrange my affairs, and prepare to ascend to immortality in 10 years. Okay, I'll ascend in 10 years. The crowd immediately became excited and bowed to He Pingxing. For them, 10 years is already a perfect amount of time. One by one, these old immortals at the nascent soul stage left, leaving only a few on the sacred mountain in the end. Black honey, vibrating feathers, etc. Zhenyu found He Pingxing and said, I think the 3 possible scenarios you mentioned before after repairing the formation are very important. We need to deduce these scenarios in advance. Deduction. He Pingxing said, this can be deduced. Yes. Zhenyu nodded. I know a senior who is proficient in divination. Please wait a moment. I'll go and invite him over right away so he can help you with the calculations. He Pingxing said, that's not a good idea. Since we're asking someone else for help, I'll go there myself. Hehehe. Ancestor Zhenyu chuckled and said, no need. Now that you have made great contributions to the cultivation world, it is only right that he comes. Moreover, you've just taken over the holy mountain, and you still have a lot to do, many things to handle, and many miscellaneous tasks to oversee. Just wait on the mountain. In a while, I will definitely bring Master Yi Ku to help you with the divination. He Pingxing cupped his hands in thanks, then thank you very much, senior. Brother, look, this is a list of all the treasures on the sacred mountain. Furthermore, these are treasures collected from the Holy Lord's ring. Take a look, is there anything you need? Wang Dun gave 2 lists to He Pingxing. He Pingxing then remembered that he also had several rings on him, which he obtained after killing Ta Wen. Splash! He Pingxing didn't hold back, he just blurted out everything inside the ring. There are definitely spirit stones. And there are many. However, He Pingxing didn't care much about this. Besides spirit stones, there are also various materials. He Pingxing didn't even want these things. However, He Pingxing kept one type of material. Those are the materials for refining the 5th grade elixir, the Divine Break Pill. The Divine Break Pill, like the Transformation Pill, the Origin Pill, and the Foundation Building Pill, is essential for breaking through bottlenecks. Moreover, it's used to break through major realms. Once you reach the 12th level of the nascent soul stage, swallowing a divine break pill will theoretically allow you to advance from the nascent soul stage to the divine transformation stage. I can use it when I want to advance my skills in the future. Of course, one can also refine the pills in advance and leave them for the sect's use. Aside from these, He Pingxing wasn't particularly interested in the other magical artifacts he asked about, because the highest grade is only ancient treasure. He Pingxing already has enough antique treasures. He carefully examined the document to see if it contained any supernatural abilities related to time and space. The result was disappointing. Nothing. He asked the two men, although they stole the power of the origin and are second to none in terms of their ability to create space-time, it is sad that they do not possess any supernatural powers related to space-time. Otherwise, that great battle wouldn't have been so easy. There's nothing I particularly need. He Pingxing smiled and said, Senior Brother Wang, you can decide how to distribute it. All right. Wang Dun said, I'll give you 2 of the ancient treasures here, and all the origin of time and space is yours, because you need to repair the formation. As they were talking, Wang Dun brought over the glass baby he had been talking about. He Pingxing naturally accepted it. Besides the glass infant, there are 2 enormous lumps of space-time origin on the Holy Mountain, which are the 2 pieces above the head where He Pingxing was imprisoned. He was also brought over by Wang Dun and given to He Pingxing. Needless to say, these 2 large pieces were also brought out from that passageway space. Brother, I won't lie to you, there's another incredible treasure here. You should know that even if I don't tell you. Wang Dun took out a ring and said, Look. He Pingxing scanned the ring with his divine sense. Inside the ring were a pile of array materials. Wang Dun said, These are the materials for the primordial time array. I dismantled it. Because I'm studying time arrays, I want this. Brother, do you think you could let me have it? He looked at He Pingxing with anticipation. The so-called primordial time array was the place where we listened to the sermons of the 2 holy masters after participating in the 9 Kingdoms Grand Competition. The flow of time inside is more than twice that outside. He spent 10 years outside, but 27 years inside listening to the teachings. He Pingxing naturally coveted this item as well. Okay, Senior Brother Wang. He Pingxing smiled and said, But, could I take a look first, and I'll return it to you in a few days? Of course. Wang Dun handed the ring to He Pingxing. There's also a formation diagram, take a look at it as well. He Pingxing smiled. The next few days will be easy. Strengthen. First, we need to strengthen the materials for the primordial time array. He Pingxing kept a close eye on things during the reinforcement process. Once it became a double portion, he immediately took one portion out of the treasure bowl and put the other portion back in to continue strengthening it. After being enhanced, the material became top quality. The other original copy of the formation and diagram was returned to Wang Dun by He Pingxing. Besides the array materials, other things also need to be strengthened. The second, the origin of space-time. The third one, glass infant. Not only did He Pingxing enhance the item, he also extracted the essence of time and the essence of space from the glazed infant. He Pingxing now possesses enough space-time origin to fill 2 formations. And it was at this moment that Zhenyu arrived again. He was accompanied by a bald, withered old man. The old man's cultivation level was at the first stage of the nascent soul stage. My life. Zhenyu said, This must be Master Yiku. Greetings, Senior Yiku. He Pingxing quickly cupped his hands and invited the 2 into the main hall. The 3 sat down, one as the host and the other as the guest. Master Yiku is an expert in the art of divination. Zhenyu quickly introduced, he knows everything from astronomy to geography, and he can even predict people's fate and future. He can help you resolve your doubts. He Pingxing asked, Do you need me to draw out the array inside the ascension passage? There's no need for that. Master Yiku smiled gently at He Pingxing and said, The art of divination focuses on the person. Everything revolves around you, so there's no need to look at external things. Just look at your face. Your Majesty, please sit down. This humble Taoist priest will help you with your calculations. A mysterious aura suddenly erupted from the body of Master Yi Ku, instantly enveloping He Pingxing. After half an incense stick's time, Master Yi Ku stood up excitedly and said, "It really happened. Heavens, the ascension passage between heaven and earth will really be opened within 10 years. Infinite heavenly venerable, infinite heavenly venerable." On the 7th, 5 updates a day will resume. Chapter 524. The Great Time Array. Seeing Master Yi Ku's excited and agitated appearance, He Pingxing smiled bitterly. "Good heavens, I invited you to come and see what my fate will be like. Why the hell are you looking at the passage between heaven and earth? That old geezer." He Pingxing had been thinking about this all his life. "But we will still wait patiently." After about a dozen breaths, Master Yi Ku said, "Your Majesty's merits are boundless. According to my calculations, after you complete the Great Formation, you will be forcibly taken to the spirit realm by the power of the formation's operation. Whether you've reached the nascent soul stage or not, the result is the same." "Is that so?" He Pingxing immediately took a deep breath and became serious. After he repairs the formation, there are only 3 possible outcomes. First, he enters the spirit world. Second, he returns the way he came. Third, he is trapped in the same place. The results of the deduction are now in. We will enter the spirit world. For him, entering the spirit world was a good thing. After all, He Pingxing has now reached a bottleneck, and the difficulty of breaking through 2 bottlenecks is self-evident. The key point is that there are no rare and precious materials in this cultivation world that can help one break through bottlenecks. If we go to the spirit realm, perhaps there will be such treasures? This is the positive side. Good, good. Zhenyu said, "In that case, it's good that we can enter the spirit realm sooner." He Pingxing asked, "Senior Zhenyu, what kind of place is this spirit realm?" He really knew absolutely nothing about the spirit world. Full of anticipation and longing, Zhenyu said, "The spirit realm is the realm above our cultivation world. We cultivators naturally have no way of knowing what it looks like. After all, no one has ever seen it. However, there are many supernatural powers and spells in the cultivation world that can summon ancestors from the spirit realm to possess us, so we do have some basic knowledge about the spirit realm. First of all, the spirit realm, like the cultivation realm, is a vast world, but it is much larger than the cultivation realm. Secondly, the spirit realm is divided into 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, hence there are 5 continents. On each continent, there are many forces, which are composed of races as the basic unit. All kinds of creatures live together, making the world wonderful and diverse. The cultivators in the spirit realm are not only great cultivators above the nascent soul stage, there are also many native cultivators, so there are also cultivators in the chi refining, foundation establishment, and nascent soul stages. Of course, there are also those above the nascent soul stage, such as those at the void refining stage, body integration stage, and Mahayana Emperor stage, all of whom are powerful figures in their own right. After achieving the great vehicle perfection, another breakthrough will allow one to ascend to the immortal realm. Zhenyu gave a brief explanation, but it was all very vague. There was nothing we could do. It was from the previous world. People in the lower realms cannot possibly know much information. Senior Zhenyu. He Pingxing said, "As you know, I possess the Great Freedom Pearl, which can place people within it. When I ascend to heaven, can I take my relatives and friends with me and fly into the spirit world together?" Hehehe. Zhenyu laughed, then shook his head, "No way. Actually, it's true that your Great Freedom Pearl can contain a world, but it's not a world in itself. To put it bluntly, this so-called world is still our cultivation world. It belongs to our cultivation world. Don't even mention that you can't help others ascend to immortality. Even this Great Freedom Pearl will remain in this world after you ascend. Do you understand what I'm saying?" He Pingxing nodded, "Understood." Originally, he was planning to use the Great Freedom Pearl to bring his relatives and friends, such as Xiao He, Yu Ning, and Shu Kunlun, with him, so that they could all ascend to the spirit realm and rise from there. But it didn't work. Of course, this was within his expectations. If that doesn't work, then we need to make proper arrangements for the sect. Several days later, He Pingxing left the sacred mountain and headed to Dingxiang County in the state of Qi. The city lord's mansion in Dingxiang County is controlled by He Pingxing, who was sent by the Qi kingdom. The entire Dingxiang County has now become He Pingxing's private fiefdom. The several chambers of commerce in Dingxiang City were naturally affiliated with Taishu sect. After experiencing glory, destruction, and rebirth, the Taishu sect finally stood at the pinnacle of the entire cultivation world, becoming one of the top sects in the cultivation world. Not only is it famous, but it is also very powerful. After all, even the current emperor of Liang, the 9th Prince Liang Zhili, and the eldest princess are disciples of the Taishu sect. If we trace it back to its roots, Wang Dun was also a disciple of Taishu. He Pingxing did not stay in Dingxiang County, but returned directly to Taishu Gate. Master, don't ask anything. I need to go into seclusion to set up an array. Please summon my senior brothers, junior sisters, and Xiao He. I have something to say after I've successfully set up the array. Okay. Yu Ning quickly went out. He Pingxing chose a flat piece of land on a high point on the original Xiuzhu Peak and began to set up the formation. The formation he was about to set up was naturally the primordial time formation. This formation is classified as a 5th grade formation. Theoretically speaking, He Pingxing is unable to set up the formation because his current level of formation skills is only at the 4th rank. That's all right, because the array materials and array plates are readily available and have been reinforced. This saves more than 90% of the work of setting up the formation. He Pingxing then took out another array diagram. This is the array diagram of the 5th grade array, primordial time array, which is densely marked with the arrangement of the entire array. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He Pingxing was meticulous and began to set up the formation according to the diagram. Even with the array diagram and array plate, setting up a 5th grade array was still very slow for him. It took a full year for this massive formation to finally rise from the ground with a thunderous roar. It is hundreds of feet in size. When the great formation was activated, the golden light on the beam of light converged into a pillar of light that shot straight into the sky. However, the golden beam of light disappeared very quickly. Summoned by He Pingxing, the group arrived before the great formation. He Pingxing's gaze swept over the group. Among the people present were former disciples of his master, Yu Ning, Yu Xian, Zhao Linga, Chen Xiaoqing, and Shu Kunlun. He also had 2 disciples, Xiao He and Long Zhe, and Lao Cheng too. Among them, Yu Ning, Yu Xian, Xiao He, and others have all reached the nascent soul stage. The others are all at the golden core stage, and some are very close to the nascent soul stage. A breakthrough is within reach. Master, what kind of formation is this? Xiao He asked. He Pingxing said, it is a time array, but I can't say for sure how many times faster the time flows. Hey you, Long Zhe, why don't you go in and give it a try? Stay inside for 10 days before coming out. Yes. Long Zhe said, this disciple obeys. Long Zhe walked into the great formation. The rest of the group waited outside to test the time flow rate of this large array. After all, before the enhancement, the speed of this time array was about 1 minute and 2.7 seconds. But now that the materials have been enhanced by He Pingxing, who knows if this ratio will change? Chapter 525 Who is this man? Shuhaiji net 2 days later, Long Zhe emerged from the great formation. Everyone gasped. What's wrong? Long Zhe looked at everyone and asked, is there something amiss? Master, 10 days should be enough for me. How much time has passed here? He Pingxing said, 2 days. 2 days passed outside, and 10 days passed inside. Does that mean the time flow rate ratio is 1:5? Hiss hiss hiss. Wow, that's amazing. While others cultivate themselves for 1 year, I cultivate myself for 5 years. The key point is that this formation is extremely large, and almost all the talented disciples of the Taishu sect can enter it. If the Taishu sect doesn't become ridiculously powerful in the future, then, as long as lower-level disciples keep joining the sect, the sect will continuously produce higher-level cultivators. But simply letting the dragon hibernate is not rigorous enough. How about this? He Pingxing looked at Cheng Daocai and said, "Old Cheng, you go in. This time, don't just stay for 10 days, stay inside for a month and see." Although Cheng Daocai's cultivation level has not yet reached the nascent soul stage, it has reached the 12th level of the golden core stage. He didn't break through the last level because he himself was unwilling to do so. It is said that they are accumulating strength. He felt that he had not yet had enough training and travel experience. All right. Without saying a word, old Cheng stepped directly into the formation. He Pingxing said, "I'll go in and give it a try too." He wanted to test the time inside himself. Of course, He Pingxing didn't waste any time. He kept refining pills inside. On one hand, there's the refining of gathering yuan pills, which can enhance the strength of golden core cultivators. On the other hand, there's the refining of breaking through pills. If we refine several batches, we won't have to search for resources everywhere when our disciples break through to the nascent soul stage. Also, refine some heavenly pine mysterious yellow dew while you're at it. Finally, refine the 5th grade elixir, the divine break pill. The divine break pill is one of the essential pills for breaking through to the nascent soul stage. He Pingxing had a batch of materials, and in the end, he refined a batch of low-grade divine break pills. After refining, the next step is strengthening. The divine break pills were upgraded to the highest grade, and there were 24 of them. A month later, he and Cheng Daocai walked out of the time array almost at the same time. "How is it?" He Pingxing asked. "Master, how many days have passed outside?" Yu Ning said, 6 days. 6 days. He Pingxing nodded. That's undoubtedly 5 times the speed of time flow. Let's go, we'll talk in the main hall ahead. The group arrived together in a grand hall. The main hall wasn't particularly grand, but a sign hung at the entrance, True Spirit Hall. This is the palace of 6th senior sister Zhao Linga. Everyone followed He Pingxing inside. He Pingxing looked at the people in front of him, then waved his hand and took out a treasure. "Master." He handed Yu Ning an ice attribute flying sword. "This is a top-grade ancient treasure with 20 layers of restrictions on it. It's yours. I'll use it for self-defense in the future." Yu Ning took the flying sword and asked, "Pingxing, from what you're saying, it sounds like you're going to leave us. What exactly happened?" He Pingxing smiled and said, "It's nothing. I might ascend to immortality soon." "So, you understand." An unusual emotion permeated the main hall. There was joy at the prospect of He Pingxing's imminent ascension to immortality, and also sorrow at the impending separation. "All right, no need for that." He Pingxing said, "After I repair the ascension passage between heaven and earth, you can also ascend after you reach the nascent soul stage. It's not impossible for us to reunite in the spirit world. Here, Uncle Master, this is the heavenly fire sword, a top-grade ancient treasure, for you." Previously, while searching the holy mountain, a total of 3 ancient treasures were obtained. After He Pingxing enhanced them, he obtained 6. In addition to giving them to Yu Ning and Yu Xian, I also gave them a handful of Xiao He and a handful of Long Zhe. There was nothing I could do, he was my own apprentice. There are only 2 left, so I won't be giving them away. However, others also gave gifts. There were no ancient treasures, but there were still mysterious treasures. Everyone will receive at least 1 mysterious treasure. You all go down first, Xiao He stays, and Master stays. After everyone left, only Xiao He and Yu Ning remained in the main hall. He Pingxing then took out 2 more jade tokens. "Xiao He, always listen to your master. Even though you've reached the nascent soul stage, you still have to respect your master." Xiao He nodded obediently, then bowed to Yu Ning. "From now on, Xiao He will obey Grandmaster's orders. These are 2 jade tokens for entering the Grand Time Array." He Pingxing said, "Both of you must be present at the same time for the primordial time array to open. As for who will enter to cultivate and what rules will be established, that's up to you two." Yu Ning and Xiao He are basically the people He Pingxing trusts the most. And this too. He Pingxing took out 30 more, divine break pills. Divine break pills are only for nascent soul cultivators at the 12th level within our sect. You too keep this safe and store it within the sect. Private individuals are not permitted to carry it under normal circumstances. Otherwise, great disaster will ensue. This is crucial. Yes. The two replied solemnly. He Pingxing then took out 2 large golden gourds. This is grade 4 spiritual liquid, heavenly pine profound yellow dew. 1 drop is enough to fill your dantian. You two each take 1 gourd. He Pingxing took out his treasures, which he didn't have much use for, and gave them to the 2 of them one by one. Then he gracefully left the Taishu sect. The Taishu sect no longer needs him. Even without him, the Taishu sect can still develop very well. Liang Kingdom, Nanlong Commandery, Qiannan City. Spring breeze once graced Fusu. Willow catkins are emerging along the riverbank. Under the gentle spring breeze, the weeping willows sway in the wind. He Pingxing suddenly appeared in an ordinary courtyard in the city. There is a pond in the yard, and several willow trees are planted next to the pond. The drooping branches swayed gently in the wind, and the vermilion door, hidden among the peach blossoms, opened. A woman dressed in black, with unparalleled beauty, slowly walked out of the house. When she saw He Pingxing standing in the courtyard, she was so shocked that she couldn't help but tremble. Then she stretched out her slender fingers and covered her red lips. The woman was so shocked she couldn't utter a word, but tears streamed down her face, large teardrops sliding down her fair and radiant skin. Just then, another tall, handsome man emerged from the vermilion gate of the small building. He Pingxing's gaze immediately sharpened. Su Xianxia. Su Xianxia, who is this man? He Pingxing felt his throat was a little dry and inexplicably irritated. He had always felt that he only had lust for Su Xianxia, not love. But the moment He Pingxing saw the man in front of him today, he suddenly felt a pang of sadness in his heart. Damn it! Could this woman have found another lover? Perhaps. Perhaps I really shouldn't have come. There was no agreement between us, and we weren't Daoist partners. It was just a faint thought after a brief spring breeze. Chapter 526 Xianxia. Trouble, don't be afraid, come with me. Su Xianxia straightened her chest, took a deep breath, and then, holding the young man's hand, slowly walked up to He Pingxing. He Pingxing, you've finally arrived. Tears still clung to her face. He Pingxing nodded. Beside him, the young man suddenly knelt down on the ground. Your son, Xianxia, greets father. He Pingxing opened his mouth slightly, utterly astonished. Son. Xianxia? Mine. He Pingxing felt that his emotions had undergone the biggest turning point of his life in an instant. He said in disbelief, get up and speak first. Yes. Xianxia stood up. He Pingxing stared at his face. The child was tall and slender, with a handsome face and a gentle, refined demeanor. How could someone as plain-looking as He Pingxing have given birth to such a handsome man? Of course, there's nothing I can do about it. Her mother is just too beautiful. How old are you? He Pingxing asked. Xianxia said, I am 105 years old this year. Cool. He Pingxing breathed a deep sigh of relief. 105 years old. That makes sense. After he and Su Xianxia came out of the secret realm, they spent several days in this small courtyard in Qiannan City. This child was probably conceived during that time. So many years have passed. Unbeknownst to He Pingxing, a sense of guilt welled up in his heart. He scanned his son's body with his divine sense and discovered that his son had already reached the 3rd level of the Golden Core stage. Reaching the 3rd level of the Golden Core stage in 100 years shows that one's talent is quite good. He Pingxing looked at Su Xianxia again. Su Xianxia was exceptionally intelligent in her early years. Later, after having some entanglements with He Pingxing, the power of fortune descended upon her once again. Su Xianxia's cultivation level has now reached the 12th level of the Golden Core stage. After all, He Pingxing had left her many pills and a greed and anger fruit, so it was only natural that Su Xianxia broke through to the 12th level of the Golden Core stage. You haven't formed your nascent soul yet? He Pingxing asked. puzzled. Su Zhenzhen smiled and said, "My family is poor, and I don't have the money to buy the breakthrough pill." He Pingsheng smiled. Not having enough money to buy the breakthrough pill? That's a joke. That's understandable, though. When he left, he forgot to leave Su Zhenzhen a breakthrough pill. Boom! He Pingsheng's magical power flowed within him, and the supernatural power of the true explanation of heavenly eye geomancy was activated as he looked at Su Zhenzhen and his son. Su Zhenzhen has good luck. If she has enough resources, she should be able to cultivate to the nascent soul stage without any problem. The son is different. His luck is much stronger than Su Zhenzhen's, several times stronger. What kind of heavenly tribulation did you undergo when you were undergoing your tribulation? He Pingsheng asked his son. He Xianxia replied, "Father, I am facing the 79 heavenly tribulation." 79. No wonder they have such strong luck. That's already an existence that defies the heavens. Okay. He Pingsheng asked again, "What kind of spiritual route is it?" Before He Xianxia could speak, Su Zhenzhen proudly declared, "It's a mutated wood-type spiritual route, a lightning spiritual route." Lightning spirit route? He Pingsheng's eyes lit up. This is known as the strongest fighting spirit route, possessing the strongest combat power among all spirit routes. This is good. He Pingsheng laughed heartily and said, "Excellent, thunder spirit route. Good son. I don't have any lightning attribute cultivation techniques here. What technique did you start practicing?" The son, He Xianxia, said, "I'm cultivating the wood attribute cultivation technique that mother gave me." "It's all right." He Pingsheng said, "I'll get you a lightning attribute cultivation technique later. Oh, and I have a special ability for you here." He Pingsheng took out a jade slip. The jade slip records a supernatural power, thunder and sun gathering. Just as He Xianxia received the jade slip, He Pingsheng took out an axe and said, "This is a top-grade ancient treasure with 20 layers of restrictions. It's called the Wind and Thunder Mountain Slaying Axe. I'll give it to you as well." With the addition of these two items, He Xianxia's combat power will definitely increase significantly. "That's great, mother, that's great. With this, I'm sure I can win the competition in 3 days. I'll go refine the divine weapon first." Bang, bang, bang. The child, carrying weapons, ran straight to the 3rd floor. "What's going on?" He Pingsheng asked. "What competition? You're already at the golden core stage. Why are you still participating in competitions?" Su Zhenzhen smiled and said, "I was worried to death. You don't know, but you should know Xianxia, the 13th prince of the Liang Kingdom royal family. We met back in the 5-Dragon Valley secret realm. He was recently demoted to Qiannan City by the Liang Kingdom court." He Pingsheng nodded. Liang Xian's demotion was foreseeable. Because some time ago, the Emperor of Liang abdicated, passing the throne to his son, and went to cultivate himself. The new emperor was the 9th prince from back then. The 9th prince and the 13th prince had a great feud, so after he ascended the throne, he would definitely send the 13th prince away. Normal. And then? He Pingsheng asked. Su Zhenzhen said, "Then this guy happened to see me and insisted on becoming my Daoist partner. I was unwilling, so he wanted to drive me out of Qiannan City. Later, under the mediation of the city lord of Qiannan City, it was decided to let He Xianxia and one of Liang Xian's followers compete. It will begin in 3 days. If the child loses, we will leave Qiannan City. If the child wins, he will never bother me again." You're out of your mind. He Ping was so angry he was about to explode. "You actually agreed to something like this? Those people will do bad things." "I know," Su Zhenzhen said with a mischievous grin. "So I'm going to tell Liang Xian that He Xianxia is your son before the competition starts in 3 days. Let's see if he still dares to provoke me." As a result, you arrived before the competition even started. "Good," He Pingsheng said, "at least you're not too stupid. All right, we'll go participate in the children's competition in 3 days, and I'll go watch too." "Now." Su Zhanzhan raised her head and looked at the man who was a head taller than her. Her eyes became eager, and her breathing even became rapid. He Pingxing said, "The child is on the 3rd floor." Su Zhanzhan gritted her teeth. "You personally set up all the 4th grade formations in this courtyard. Don't you have confidence in your formations?" "All right." He Pingxing reached out and hoisted Su Zhanzhan up. "Let me show you whether I have confidence or not." 3 days later, He Pingxing and Su Zhanzhan walked out of the lobby on the 1st floor. At this moment, He Xianxia had been waiting outside for quite some time. "Father, Mother." He Xianxia bowed respectfully. He Pingxing didn't feel anything yet, but Su Zhanzhan felt very embarrassed. He Pingxing said, "Your mother and I will go to watch your competition." "Let's go." A large vehicle left the gate of the small courtyard and headed in a certain direction in the city. That's the direction of the city lord's mansion. Chapter 527. Is it too late to commit suicide now? The 13th Prince. Please have a seat. In the city lord's mansion, in a spacious area. In the center is a huge array of light membranes, and on one side of the light membrane are 20 or 30 seats. There aren't many seats. This isn't a fighting arena. It's just a temporary venue set up for this competition. Thank you. The 13th Prince, Xianxia, slowly sat down in his seat and said, "Lord Pu, you've gone to a lot of trouble." "Of course." City Lord Pu chuckled and sat down beside him, saying, "This is a 3rd grade formation that was just made, specially designed for today's competition. Your Highness should still warn the contestants to be careful. He Xianxia is not someone to be trifled with. Although he only has the cultivation of the 3rd level of the Golden Core stage, he has a mutated lightning spiritual root, making his combat power extremely formidable. We might actually lose." Hehehe. The 13th Prince chuckled and said, "Winning or losing, it doesn't matter. Actually, I have my own way of dealing with this." His goal was never to win or lose. He won, and Su Zhanzhan left Qiannan City. Was this his original intention? Impossible. What the 13th Prince wants is Su Zhanzhan herself. Back in the secret realm of Wulonggu, he fell in love with Su Zhanzhan at first sight. Her figure fascinated him. Unfortunately, after the 5 Dragon Valley secret realm ended, he completely lost contact with Su Zhanzhan and sent people to search for her in many ways, but to no avail. Otherwise, given his status and position, he certainly wouldn't have let it go. This time, after being demoted to Qiannan City, he finally met Su Zhanzhan again. Unfortunately, when they met again, this woman had already become someone else's wife. She also had a child. This broke Xianxia's heart, and she vowed to kill Su Zhanzhan's man. Unfortunately, despite making inquiries from various sources, she was unable to find out anything. But it's all right. Despite some flaws, I still have to get my hands on this woman. And so, today's competition came about. He won, and Su Zhanzhan left Qiannan City, but this was only a temporary measure. Once Su Zhanzhan leaves, she will be controlled by him. If he loses, Su Zhanzhan can continue living in Qiannan City. That doesn't matter. With his current power, as long as he has a slight grasp on Su Zhanzhan's weakness, He Xianxia, wouldn't he be able to make Su Zhanzhan submit in no time? Actually, I recently discovered some information as well. Lord Pu said. Oh. Xianxia asked, "What news?" Lord Pu said, "I have found out that Su Zhanzhan had a Daoist partner before. Later, her partner was poisoned by a kind of fire poison, so she risked her life to go to the 5 Dragon Valley secret realm in the hope of obtaining a 10,000-year-old ice marrow. Unfortunately, her husband died later. Therefore, we suspect that this He Xianxia is the child left behind by that dead man." Xianxia nodded. "I see. The man is dead. That would be even better. Orphans and widows have no one to rely on. Shouldn't we take this opportunity to suppress them? Greetings, Your Highness." "Greetings, Your Highness. Is the prince well?" Many celebrities also came to Qiannan City. They all wanted to take this opportunity to curry favor with Xianxia. Although he was a down-on-his-luck prince, he was still a prince after all. Now all the resources in Qiannan City belonged to Xianxia, including the major chambers of commerce. Please sit down. The 13th prince cupped his hands in thanks to the crowd. Thank you all for coming. I will remember everything that happened today. Everyone quickly sat down. Moreover, all 20-odd seats were occupied. Oh no! Lord Pu exclaimed. We've filled all the seats. What will happen when Su Zhenjian arrives? There won't be any seats left. Someone, go and get some more chairs. Hey, hey, hey. The Grand Elder of the Qiannan Chamber of Commerce stood up and said, Lord City Lord, don't bother. When Su Zhenjian arrives, just let her sit on the prince's lap. Ha ha ha. This remark immediately drew laughter from everyone. Xianxia stroked his chin and said, That's not impossible either, ha ha ha. Amidst the lewd laughter of the crowd, a large vehicle rumbled along. Xianxia has arrived. He was the first to jump out of the car. Then there's Su Zhenjian. As soon as Su Zhenjian got out of the car, the Grand Elder of the Qiannan Chamber of Commerce hurriedly said, Fellow Daoi Su, come here quickly, the prince said you can sit on his lap. Ah! Everyone present burst into laughter again. Xianxia's face was contorted with rage, his teeth grinding together. Don't worry. Su Zhenjian raised her hand and patted her son's shoulder. Wait a minute, they'll kneel down and beg for your forgiveness. Then, Pingxing slowly got off the carriage. He didn't say a word. Average appearance. Immediately, everyone's eyes were on him. Who is this? Hey, could this guy be Su Zhenjian's man? He's just an ordinary-looking guy. Su Zhenjian probably wouldn't be interested in him. Hey, I can't even see through his cultivation level. Everyone present was shocked, except for the 13th prince, Xianxia, whose legs went weak with fright. Thump. He knelt directly in front of Pingxing. Pingxing. Qianxia. Yes. How come I didn't think of this? Damn it. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. Damn it. This is actually Pingxing's son? Dead. Dead. You can forget about living today. Seeing the prince kneeling on the ground, trembling incessantly, everyone else was dumbfounded. Who on earth is this? Father, please. Qianxia bowed to Pingxing. After the competition, I will need your guidance, father. Pingxing didn't even glance at Xianxia before walking to his seat. His gaze swept over the crowd. Lord Pu was so startled that he quickly offered his seat, saying, please sit down, joke. The person who could make the prince kneel on the ground, speechless, was certainly no ordinary person. Pingxing sat down. Su Zhenjian gracefully sat down beside him. The match hasn't started yet. Pingxing's gaze finally fell on Xianxia. Xianxia, how have you been? I heard that your whole family of 136 people came to Qiannan City with you. Xianxia trembled with fear and said, I was wrong. If I were to commit suicide now, could I save my family's lives? Pingxing nodded and said, okay. Clang. Without any hesitation, Xianxia drew his sword with a clang and cleanly pierced his own throat. It goes in through the throat and comes out through the back of the neck. Blood flowed freely. His body collapsed to the ground with a thud and began to convulse. This scene terrified everyone. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Who exactly is this person? Upon his appearance, the 13th prince was so frightened that he committed suicide. That's a prince of Liang, a county lord of Qiannan City. Pingxing's gaze swept over the others, and he said, anyone who still wants to commit suicide, you still have a chance. Chapter 528 Repairing the Passage, Ascension, Shuhaiji Net, Nobody's Stupid. I don't even know who you are, and you want me to kill myself? Isn't this going too far? So, nobody touched it. Pingxing's gaze fell on an old man, and he said indifferently, I just heard that you suggested my wife sit on Xianxia's lap. No. Misunderstand. The elder of the Qiannan Chamber of Commerce, who was being stared at by He Pingxing, was so frightened that he could barely speak. Don't make me take action. If I do, you won't even have a chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. He Pingxing glanced at him indifferently, and then looked at the city lord of Pu City. Who? Lord Pu took a deep breath. Who exactly are you, Your Excellency? Please explain clearly. He Pingxing said, this humble Taoist is He Pingxing. Who? He Pingxing? Why does this name sound so familiar? New. The two holy lords on the holy mountain were killed by this guy, and now he has become the new holy lord. Hiss hiss hiss. It was him. No wonder Xianxia was so frightened that she committed suicide. Clatter. Everyone knelt on the ground, trembling. Greetings, Holy Lord. 3 breaths left. He Pingxing said calmly. Phut. The Grand Elder of the Nan Chamber of Commerce could no longer hold back and slapped himself on the forehead, committing suicide. Immediately afterwards, the City Lord of Qiannan City committed suicide. In the blink of an eye, 3 people were lying on the ground. He Pingxing stood up from his seat and said, all right, it seems you can't compete today. Let's go home. The truck slowly drove away. Even after they disappeared from sight, none of the people kneeling on the ground beside the arena dared to raise their heads. He Pingxing took Xianxia and He Xianxia back to Taishu Gate in Dingxiang County. He Xianxia became a member of the Taishu sect. He was not only a member of the Taishu sect, but also the Lord of Dingxiang County. Dingxiang Commandery was the fiefdom granted to He Pingxing by the state of Qi, and He Xianxia was the heir. A year later, Xianxia successfully passed her tribulation and became a nascent soul cultivator. Cheng Daotsai also successfully transcended the tribulation and became a great nascent soul cultivator. In this way, the entire Taishu sect now has several nascent soul cultivators. Several years later, He Pingxing finally made up his mind. It was time to repair the array in that passage. In recent years, He Pingxing has not cultivated any spiritual practices. He lives with Xianxia in the courtyard of a small town at the foot of the mountain, just like an ordinary mortal couple. Sometimes, he would even open the soul-nourishing banner to take a look. Qiao Huizhu's soul has grown stronger, and it looks like it's about to be perfect. Once everything is perfected, she can awaken. So, it's time to leave. Brother, have you thought it through? Wang Dun looked at He Pingxing. Go now. He Pingxing nodded. Let's go now. All right, I won't try to persuade you. Wang Dun said, don't worry, after you ascend, I'll protect the entire Taishu sect and Dingxiang County. Anyone who dares to cause trouble for the Taishu sect, I will wipe them all out. This was exactly what He Pingxing was worried about. He nodded and said, then thank you very much, Senior Brother Wang. Don't thank me. Wang Dun chuckled. We're brothers, no need to thank me. Oh, right, I have another good thing here. He chuckled and handed 2 talismans to He Pingxing. These are yin-yang teleportation talismans, 1 black and 1 white. Take the black one with you, and leave the white one at the Taishu sect. Once you arrive in the spirit realm, you can activate this black talisman to teleport some items back across the realm. Can only be used once. As you know, our cultivation world lacks rare and precious materials that can help nascent soul cultivators break through their bottlenecks. Therefore, if you could bring back some rare and precious materials from the spirit realm that can help nascent soul cultivators break through their bottlenecks, that would be ideal. We could then cultivate them and spread them throughout the entire cultivation world. He Pingxing exclaimed in shock, there are actually such magical talismans? My God, they can teleport across realms. Could it be made by Wu Mi? Hehehe. Wang Dun didn't answer him, but said, you don't need to ask, just take it. All right. He Pingxing didn't ask any more questions. I'll give this to my master, Yu Ning, later. You can ask her for information about it. Wang Dun left. He Pingxing enhanced the yin-yang teleportation talisman into 2. One was given to Master Yu Ning, and the other to Xianxia. He then gave 2 large beads of freedom to his son. The fluffy little phoenix, Ting Tong, was also temporarily handed over to He Pingxing's son, He Xianxia. After finishing everything, He Pingxing flew into the sky and headed towards that desolate place. They hadn't flown far when a voice came from behind. He Pingxing, wait for me. He Pingxing turned around and saw two beams of light flying over from the sky. They instantly landed in front of him, transforming into two women, Xianxia and Huaqiu. Brother-in-law, you're leaving. Xiaoxiao's eyes were red. He Pingxing nodded and said, yes. Don't worry, your sister is fine now. She should be resurrected soon once I arrive in the spirit realm. Xiao Xiaoxiao said, you too, wait for me in the spirit realm. I will definitely find my sister and you again. He Pingxing nodded. Huaqiu walked up to him and said, hey, you're just leaving like this without giving me any explanation. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He Pingxing wore a bitter smile. He remained silent for a long time. Huaqiu leaned closer to him and gently kissed his cheek, saying, I am the first concubine recognized by Sister Qiao. You just wait for me in the spirit realm. I, Huaqiu, will ascend to find you one day. He Pingxing was speechless. He could only extend his hand and bow deeply to Huaqiu. The wide sleeves of the robe fell down, swaying left and right in the wind. Then he turned his head and vanished in a streak of light. Heh! It's you again. In the desolate valley of the heavenly extreme abyss, an old tree opened its eyes, watching He Pingxing flash by as a streak of light in the void. He had intended to stop him, but upon seeing that it was He Pingxing, he gave up. But He Pingxing returned and landed on his head. Old tree, I have good news for you, I've killed him and his companion. You don't need to worry about them anymore, and you don't need to guard the gate for them anymore. Before the old tree could answer, He Pingxing once again transformed into a streak of light and departed, passing through the layer of poisonous gas, entering the tree hollow, and then stepping into the familiar vortex. Within the rhomboid, expansive space, 7 enormous pillars of light shot into the sky. 5 of the pillars of light are adjacent to the source, while the other 2 pillars are empty. He Pingxing took out the spatial origin and the temporal origin, but didn't know their exact locations, so he just placed them randomly. As a result, the formation remained completely still. Then, He Pingxing swapped the positions of the spatial origin and the temporal origin. Rumble. The entire space suddenly began to tremble. The vortex behind them, which was about 10 feet in diameter, disappeared in an instant. Liang Kingdom. The capital city. In a grand hall, the royal patriarch Liang Junming suddenly stood up and said, it's done. The energy between heaven and earth is now in motion, and we can ascend again. Zhenyu, you continue to protect the Liang family. I can't take it anymore, I'm about to be forcibly ascended. His words had barely left his lips when he was pulled by a tremendous force and sent flying into the sky with a bang. At the same time, across the cultivation continent, hundreds of nascent soul stage experts from the 9 kingdoms were pulled into the void by that immense force almost simultaneously. According to the rules, after reaching the nascent soul stage, one can choose to ascend immediately or not. However, it cannot exceed 3 floors. Once one's cultivation level exceeds the 3rd level, they will be forced to ascend. These first batch of ascendants were all forcibly ascended. They didn't even have time to prepare. Chapter 529 Rouge Mountain. Herb Gatherer Click. An iron chisel was firmly driven into a protruding stone step on the cliff face. A thin woman, wearing a black linen dress and suspended by a long rope, took another step down the cliff, supported by the chisel in her hand. Sister, watch out! At the top of the cliff, a little boy of about 7 or 8 years old poked his head out, looking worriedly at his older sister who was swaying in the wind, and gave her a reminder. Okay. The older sister didn't even look up, but simply said, keep an eye on the rope for me, don't let it break. Click. The woman gripped the rope swaying in the wind tightly with her right hand, while using her left hand to pick at another piece of stone. Then she lowered herself another body length. Little Mo, be good and watch carefully, don't be afraid. Once my sister collects this medicinal herb, we'll have a good life from now on. The girl was about 15 or 16 years old. Her name was Li Yunyun, and she was a herb gatherer from Rouge Mountain. A few days ago, she discovered a purple ginseng plant at the bottom of the cliff. Based on her many years of experience in collecting medicinal herbs, she judged that this purple ginseng plant was likely over 100 years old. A century-old purple ginseng is already an extremely precious medicinal material. It would be extremely popular not only if it were delivered to a herbal medicine shop, but also if it were given to immortals who cultivate immortality. Moreover, Li Yunyun knew that this century-old purple ginseng was one of the main ingredients used by immortals to refine the second-grade elixir, the Foundation Establishment Pill, so its value was self-evident. But the problem is that this medicinal herb grows in a crevice on a platform in the middle of a cliff. It's neither above nor below ground, making it impossible to collect anything. After several days of deliberation, Li Yunyun finally made up her mind to risk her life and try to descend the cliff from the mountaintop to collect this medicinal herb. The descent went very smoothly. Soon, Li Yunyun descended onto the platform. Call! Li Yunyun, a mere mortal, gasped for breath as she wiped the sweat from her face and dug out the century-old purple ginseng. Is it really a century-old purple ginseng? This year is even over 100 years ago. Li Yunyun's face lit up with joy. Purple ginseng has certain patterns on its surface. The age of the ginseng can be easily determined by the number and shape of these patterns. Li Yunyun placed the purple ginseng she had dug up into the basket on her back. After resting for a moment, she was about to leave when she suddenly noticed a piece of clothing protruding from a crack behind the mountain platform. That's strange. Is there anyone else in this desolate wilderness? Filled with curiosity, Li Yunyun crouched down and carefully circled around the platform, peeking behind her through a crack in the mountainside. Behind them was a larger platform, and on that platform lay a man. Upon seeing this, Li Yunyun was so frightened that her body trembled. She didn't know what was going on. I don't know if this person is dead or alive. Little girl, save me. The people inside cried out for help. Li Yunyun's heart started pounding, and she didn't know what to do. To save or not to save? What if you save a bad guy? The little girl crouched down and peered through a crevice in the mountainside. She saw a man lying on the ground, his clothes tattered and torn beyond recognition, and he seemed unable to move, except for his mouth and eyelids. Are you injured? Li Yunyun asked softly. Yes, I'm injured. The voice inside was very weak, even feeble. How did you get injured? Li Yunyun asked again. He Pingsheng, lying on the floor, gave a wry smile as he looked up at the sky. I accidentally fell. He has been lying here for more than 10 days. That's right, this person is He Pingsheng, who ascended from the cultivation world to the spirit world. He had previously repaired the ascension passage between heaven and earth, and was then swept up by the power within the passage and forcibly sent to the spirit realm. However, He Pingsheng's ascension was not a normal one. They were simply swept up by the power within that passage and brought to the spirit world. Although he was not harmed by the power of rules such as spatial rules, temporal rules, or the 5 elements rules during the process, he was still seriously injured under the pressure of that enormous power. Countless bones were shattered. This is not the worst part. The crucial point is that his nascent soul shattered. All the spiritual energy in his body dissipated. A huge crack appeared in his dantian, which turned into spiritual energy and returned to the world, meaning that He Pingsheng's cultivation had completely disappeared. He became an ordinary mortal. Of course, they weren't really ordinary people either. After all, he possessed a lifespan of 1,000 years at the nascent soul stage, as well as a vast divine consciousness. However, the problem is that only by combining divine sense with magical power can one control objects. He possessed divine sense but lacked magical power, so he naturally couldn't move items. Even if he could open storage bags and storage rings, he couldn't take out the pills from the storage rings. Furthermore, his bones and muscles were shattered beyond recognition, rendering him completely immobile. There was no way to move it even a fraction of an inch. After ascending, he landed on this desolate platform in the wilderness and lay there for more than 10 days, with no sign of improvement in his health. Fortunately, I met a girl who was collecting herbs. At this moment, He Pingsheng placed all his hopes on the girl. Don't worry, I can't move anything except my mouth right now. All my bones are broken. Little girl, please have mercy, save me, and find me a doctor to treat me. I will definitely repay you. Is it okay? He Pingxing had not humbled himself to beg anyone like this in over 100 years. Although the girl was a country bumpkin, she wasn't stupid. She said, I'm not going to save you. What good would it do me to save an ingrate?
您啊，就自个儿在这里躺着吧。我走了。有了百年子孙，我还要你的报答。女孩子走后，贺平生嘴角一苦，只能看着女孩离去。过了大约10几个呼吸，那女孩却去而复返，道：这样吧，我救你也不是不可以，但是你须得给我发个誓，这辈子不许害我，不然我可不放心。李云云刚刚虽然决定不救，可她毕竟善良，过不了自己心里的这一关，于是又去而复返。贺平生道：行，我叫贺平生，今天你叫什么名字？李云云道：我是胭脂山的李云云。好。贺平生深吸一口气，重新道：我叫贺平生，今日若得到胭脂山的李云云姑娘救助，定然不敢忘了这救命之恩，日后绝不恩将仇报，绝对要给我恩人大大的补偿和好处。如果做不到，让我贺平生被天打雷劈。好吧，李云云道，看在你长得还算老实巴交的份上，我就救了你吧。喜欢聚宝仙盆，请大家收藏3w.shuaigi.net。聚宝仙盆书海格小说网更新速度全网最快。
Chapter 530 Honest advice is hard to hear, but how can I get you up there? Li Yunyun looked at He Pingxing with a troubled expression. Just this one rope. If she tied He Pingxing up, she wouldn't be able to get up. Besides, tying He Pingxing up wouldn't be of any use, as her younger brother was too weak to pull He Pingxing up. If I go up there, how will the rope be able to tie He Pingxing up when it hangs down? After all, He Pingxing himself wouldn't move. It's not necessarily the case that I have to be promoted. He Pingxing chuckled and said, if I'm not mistaken, this should be a cliff, right? Li Yunyun nodded. He Pingxing asked, is there a path leading down this cliff? Li Yunyun said, yes, there is. That's fine. He Pingxing said, you pick me up and throw me off this cliff, then come find me down there later. He Pingxing was not lying. Although he lost his magical powers, his nascent soul was shattered, and many of his internal organs and bones were broken. However, the body-refining effects of his 9 poisons refined body are still present. The power of space could crush his bones, but falling off a cliff would not cause him any problems. Even now. That won't do. Li Yunyun said, you're already seriously injured. If you fall again, you'll die. He Pingxing said, don't worry, I won't die from the fall. Instead of listening to him, Li Yunyun reached out a small, white hand and touched He Pingxing's forehead, saying, you don't have a fever, so why are you talking nonsense? Although her small hands were white, the skin on her palms was unusually rough, clearly the result of years of hard labor, with calluses forming. Wait here for me a moment, I'll go cut a vine. Li Yunyun left. She pulled herself up to the top of the cliff using the dangling rope, and then actually found a thick vine at the top and threw it down. Then, Li Yunyun climbed down the vine and tied the rope around He Pingxing's body. Once everything was ready, she climbed back up the cliff along the vines, and together with her brother, they pulled hard on the rope, finally managing to pull He Pingxing up from below. After he reached the top of the cliff, the siblings were exhausted. Huff, huff. Li Yunyun gasped for breath and asked, how are you feeling? He Pingxing's expression remained calm, not bad. In reality, her already broken body was in excruciating pain. I really wish I could sit inside the treasure bowl and strengthen my body. But I'm also afraid of creating 2 versions of myself. Let's forget about it then. Of course, without magical power, he couldn't take the treasure basin out of his body with just his divine sense. However, He Pingxing did have the ability to protect himself. Because his sea of consciousness was not broken. His spiritual power was still strong. Even if a nascent soul cultivator came, he could kill them by using the formless Big Dipper nail, divine power. Not to mention ordinary people. What do we do next? Li Yunyun asked He Pingsheng. He Pingsheng asked, is your home far from here? It's not that far. Li Yunyun said, but there's only my brother and me in our family. You're not thinking of staying with us, are you? Yes. He Pingsheng smiled and said, Li Yunyun, come here, I need to tell you something. Li Yunyun cautiously walked to his side. What is it? He Pingsheng said, look at my waist, isn't there a small pouch there? That's a storage bag. There wasn't anything particularly good inside. It was just a container that He Pingsheng usually used to store low-level items. These low-level items are sometimes necessary to carry around, especially when encountering juniors with low cultivation levels, as it's inevitable to offer them some benefits. Therefore, He Pingsheng carried this item with him at all times. This. Upon seeing the bag, Li Yunyun was startled and exclaimed, This is a storage bag. You're an immortal. Okay. He Pingsheng said, now, take me home and find a doctor to help me reset my broken bones. Once I've kept it at your house for a while, I can give you a generous reward. So that you and your brother will never have to work hard collecting herbs for the rest of your lives. And there's more. He Pingsheng couldn't turn his face, he could only move his eyes to look at the basket beside him, and said, I can still save your life. Save me. Li Yunyun said, Titch, you really are something, you can't even move yourself, yet you're still bragging. He Pingsheng said, I'm not exaggerating. Your century-old purple ginseng is no ordinary thing. It would be fine if it grew in the soil. Once it is picked, a medicinal fragrance that is difficult for ordinary people to detect will waft out. If there are cultivators within 100 miles, it will easily attract the covetous eyes of others. If you encounter an easygoing cultivator, they might just take your treasure and return it. But if you encounter a ruthless one, they might not only take your century-old purple ginseng, but also kill you to silence you. Put the century-old purple ginseng in my storage bag. This aura can be isolated. Didn't I just save your life? He Pingsheng was telling the truth. He wasn't exaggerating. TCH. Li Yunyun didn't believe it and said, you probably want my treasure, don't you? And you want me to put it in your storage bag. Don't even think about it. I thought I saved a good person, but it turns out they're an ingrate. Xiao Mo, let's go, don't pay him any attention. Just leave him here to fend for himself. Li Yunyun was really angry, so she grabbed her younger brother and turned to leave. He Pingsheng looked bitter. It seems I shouldn't have said those things. Words can be dangerous. However, I feel bad if I don't remind them. After all, he didn't want this kind-hearted girl to die a violent death. Have to. If you offend that girl, you might end up dying a violent death. Let's wait. It's unclear how long it will take for it to heal itself. If there were a pill now, this kind of superficial injury would heal He Pingsheng in a few days. Without elixirs, relying solely on the power of qi and blood to recover would be a very long process. There's a saying in the mortal world, it takes 100 days to recover from a broken bone or muscle. Don't even think about it getting better in a few months. Let it be several months. He Pingsheng closed his eyes. At this moment, his eyelids and mouth were the only things he could move. But less than 10 breaths after I closed my eyes, I heard cries for help from the side. It turned out that Li Yunyun was pulling her younger brother Li Mo along, running quickly towards them. He Pingsheng's divine sense burst forth and swept across the surroundings. In the distance, 2 cultivators were seen flying towards them on their swords. No wonder the little girl ran away. It turns out that the 2 cultivators who flew in on their swords were coming for her. Good heavens! If someone can control a sword, then they must be at least a Foundation Establishment stage disciple. Bang! Bang bang! Before Li Yunyun could reach He Pingsheng's side, she was blocked by 2 cultivators who descended from the sky. These 2 people, a man and a woman, were wearing the same style of clothing, and it was clear that they were from the same sect. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you love what you hear and want to support my work, check out the PayPal link in the description. Every bit helps. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to stay updated with all our latest audiobook chapters. We'll see you in the next one.